What's going on, everybody? This is Geek Summit coming back with a tutorial. I've gotten a few requests on doing a tutorial for at least the wired capes, and obviously even further some of the full-on super suits that I've been doing for the Christopher Reeve 1/12 scale figure. But I just want to hop in and just see how quickly I could pull together just a tutorial. I was actually sitting down to take my infected Superman, upgrade him, so I figured I'd take the opportunity to kind of track myself as I go. Basically what I've got here is the figure itself. The cape's been pulled off, and I've actually gone ahead and made some holes right there in the neckline for where I'd like the cape to go in. You can pull the arms out of these figures pretty easily. They just pop out of the socket. I'm kind of one-handing it right now, so I wouldn't be able to do that just as a demo, but basically you can just pull the arms straight away from the body, and the arm assembly will come off, and then you have this little butterfly cuff that kind of pops in there. I would take that out before you go drilling into the body, just so you don't key that butterfly cuff, and then it kind of becomes immobilized. But anyway, I've got my template here, and basically by the size of it, it's about 7 inches tall by about 7 inches wide, and it's just a full. Excuse me, I'm kind of tracking off my space. It's just kind of a quarter cut of a circle. So that's what I start with. Oh, excuse me, just had a Coke. Start with as a template, and so I'm going to be using this darker burgundy material for the cape, and this is just some material I bought. I'm sure this used to be a Halloween costume, and I've just kind of been whittling down on it after a while. So let me get set up with some fabric, and we'll get to cutting, and we'll show you how that goes. All right, so I've got my fabric right here, and I've got it folded in half with the template set on top of it. That way I'm only cutting off exactly what I need. So I use a rotary cutter, and I've pulled up a couple of them because I can't ever remember which one's got the fresh blade in it. But basically, yep, that's the dud. Get out the other guy. Nice fresh blade. You'll know it's a clean cut when you can't even feel it cutting. If you feel the fabric fighting you a little bit, it's time to toss that one out. So anyway, so simple as that. Fabric fold in half to the size of your template, and then I'll just kind of position this guy close to the edge, top and sides, and then I'll just zip this cut out right here. And pretty quickly we're moving on to getting the seams set using a heat bond fabric adhesive, and we'll take a look at that in just a second. Alright, so we've got our cape cut out. We've got our materials here that we're going to be using. This is a heat bond fabric adhesive. Comes on like a, man, I swear I think this is like a 20-foot roll. But basically, if you kind of examine the texture and the surface and the makeup of it, this is essentially hot glue that has been, just kind of stamped out, I suppose. You can kind of see this grid texture here. It's been stamped out really thin to, like a 1 mil thickness. But basically, you cut this into strips. I mean, you can probably find some other method if, I'm not going to tell anybody how to use their hands, but I cut this into strips before I get to work on anything. I'll, zip off a few just to have them ready to work. And then as far as the wire that I use, this is a floral wire that you buy at Walmart. It's a pack of 25 of them, I believe. 20 of them. Nope, 30 of them. And it's just as wide as the cape I'm actually making, if not a little bit wider, as well as the heat bond, so that's kind of perfect. So I'm going to zip out some parts real quick, and we'll get into positioning that stuff and take a look at the next step. Alright, so we got our cape trimmed out, ironed down. I've gone ahead and knocked off the excess wire off the ends. In the same aisle where you buy your floral wire, you'll find these snippers, and they're probably like $5, I guess. But they're just perfect for cutting that 20 gauge wire. It's kind of exactly what they're meant for. I wouldn't try and use this on much heavier stuff. You'll eat them up really quick, and you'll lose that nice sharp snipping capability. But I've got a iron-on transfer. I know the original didn't have an S on the cape, but I've got these John Byrne style S's, and I just kind of thought it'd be a sharp look. Something to go on the back, just kind of mix it up a little bit. These transfers are really small, so if you've done iron-on transfers before, they're pretty big, and they'll tell you, you got to iron around and around and around for a minute or so. These things are tiny, so I mean, you put these in place, drop your little iron-on transfer assisting paper, whatever they call this stuff, and just iron it on. Give it a couple little scrubs with the iron, I suppose. Probably about 3 seconds, 5 seconds, nothing much at all. Carefully peel your backing paper back to make sure that this guy's sticking to your cape and not the paper, and you'll be in business with that. So let me get that done, and we'll be getting ready to position this on a figure. Alright, we got the iron-on transfer in place. And I'm sorry, everybody, I've been shooting everything upside down. Just because that's the edge I've been working with. But anyway, so we got the S right there in place on the cape. And so here in a little bit, we'll kind of get it formed to fit the figure. And just so you know, this might look a little low, sitting here so far below the neckline. But really, once this cape is bent into shape, a lot of this material is going to get eaten up, kind of creating that collar around the neck. So it'll kind of help it sit properly on the body. But that's where we're at right now, and so we're about to get this guy bent up and possibly do a little treatment to force some pleats into it, give it a little bit more dynamic look. All right, so I've kind of got the cape centered on the figure, and don't tell nobody, I actually didn't put the S on the wrong side a second ago. So I've got the cape centered to the figure, so we know exactly where that S is going to land on the back, and basically it just drapes over the shoulders of the intended figure, so you know where things are going, just like so. So we got a pretty tight fit on where things go. So assuming that the cape actually goes into the body just a hair, about right here, I would break that bend to go the other direction on both sides, and that'll kind of create points to actually tuck into the holes that I've made in the neckline there on the figure. So I'm going to do that, and we'll come back for that. And here's what our points essentially look like once we've gotten our cape positioned and scaled and got everything in place. At this time, while I've got the cape kind of in its final form, this is where I would kind of tease this up a little bit and lay one of those iron-on transfer sheets on top of it and just give it a good quick iron. Just kind of force some folding and action into that cape. I don't know, just gives it a nice sharp look. You know, these figures have an amazing scale and detail to them, so it's nice for the cape to also have a little bit of spatial grit, I suppose. So I'm going to do that, and basically at that point, I will be ready to get it glued in place, and I will be using super glue. Just popping just a toothpick with a nice little drop of super glue into both these points, and that fidgeting and futzing of getting the points shoved in there is definitely a two-hand job, so we won't be recording that. But when the final result comes back, I think you're gonna like it. All right, so here we have it, my friends. The cape is tucked in nice and tight, glued in place. Emblem looking pretty sharp on the back. We got this nice swoopy action bent into the wire. The wire can be bent in any position you like. So as long as you're secured pretty well up here in your connection points, everything else should stay in place. Of course, we have the wire that's also going through the neckline, so you're able to kind of control how that behaves as well. But yeah, so that's what we're left with in the end. Hope you dug the tutorial, and leave a like, subscribe, and come on back, as we'll probably be doing this again.